Hello everybody. Imagine a land at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, where snow falls gently on the Caucasus peaks and ancient cobbled roads wind their way into hidden villages. Georgia, a country long celebrated for its natural beauty and deep-rooted Orthodox Christian heritage, quietly holds a story few have ever heard, the tale of Islam, whose roots here stretch back centuries. Few realize that Islam reached Georgia as early as the 7th century, carried by waves of dawah and expeditions from the Middle East. Behind weathered fortresses and mist-filled valleys, the faith took hold silently, surviving eras of Arab, Ottoman, and Persian rule, and even the oppressive years under the Soviet regime. In the past, Muslim traders journeyed along the Silk Road that cut through Georgia, leaving behind more than spices and silk. They left sacred verses echoing from wooden mosques and zikr chants whispered on the mountain breeze. Regions like Ajara, Kvemo-Kartli, and Samtskhe-Javakheti became home to Muslim communities that not only endured, but quietly thrived. Yet, in official history books and glossy tourist brochures, this story is rarely told. As if Islam were a recent guest, when in truth, it has lived and settled in this land for over 1,300 years. In villages like Kulo, mosques stand peacefully among apple orchards and morning mist. There, an elderly man might recite Al-Fatiha fluently in Arabic, then greet you in thickly accented Georgian, Assalamu alaikum, welcome. This isn't the Middle East, nor Central Asia, this is Georgia, and Islam here has its own unique face. A face unfamiliar to most of the world, yet one that holds resilience, serenity, and a history well worth retelling. And our journey is only just beginning. Is this the road to Kulo? I asked an old man at a small roadside bus stop, far from the bustle of Batumi. He smiled and pointed toward the winding mountain road. Yes, up there. That's where Muslims have lived since our ancestors' time. The journey began in a shared minivan that felt more like a family car, climbing steadily along the slopes of Ajara. The higher we went, the phone signal disappeared, the air grew cooler, and the sky seemed closer. On either side of the road, rusted tin roofs peeked out from behind fruit trees, wooden posts leaned with age, and children ran along the roadside clutching schoolbooks. Welcome to the Muslim villages of Georgia. Kulo is not your typical travel destination. You won't find trendy cafes or souvenir stalls here. What you will find is silence, sacred, soothing, and a deep sense of spirituality. Perched above a green valley, embraced by mountain peaks, Islam here is lived with humble dignity. The village mosque is modest, just an old wooden structure with small windows and a simple pulpit. But from inside, the recitation of the Quran rings out clear and pure. A young imam, perhaps in his early 30s, leads the Maghrib prayer and stays afterward to teach the children to recite. He studied Islam in Turkey, then returned to his homeland to revive the almost forgotten mosque. What made you come back here? I asked. He smiled. Because this is where my soul belongs. In the city, I was a Muslim in the current. But here, Islam is my daily breath. Not far from Kulo lies Gomaduli, an even more secluded village. Here, the Adhan floats through the heavy morning mist like a whisper from the sky. The people are warm and welcoming. Mothers in colorful hijabs prepare halal khachapuri, Georgia's beloved cheese bread, for shared breakfasts. Children run and laugh in the mosque courtyard, gently correcting each other's memorized surahs. The mosque has no air conditioning, no plush carpets, but there's a warmth, like an embrace from an enduring tradition. Islam in Georgia's mountain villages isn't harsh, loud, or forceful. It is like an old tree, with roots buried deep in the mountain soil. Unshaken by time's winds, it continues to grow, quietly, but surely. The elders here tell stories of how their grandparents hid Qur'ans during the Soviet era, reading them in secret, fasting under threat of arrest. Today, they no longer hide. They teach their grandchildren proudly, not through slogans or sermons, but through gentle example and love. These villages hold more than Georgia's Muslim communities. They hold lessons of resilience, humility, and how faith can become culture's roots, not just its rules. And when you step onto this land, speak with its people, or simply sit and listen to the wind, you'll understand Islam is alive here. Quiet, gentle, and real. In a small cafe tucked in downtown Tbilisi, a young man named Georgi, 26, sits across from me. His hair is neatly trimmed, he's wearing a leather jacket, and his smile is shy as we begin to talk. He embraced Islam just a year ago. I was born and raised in a fairly religious Orthodox Christian family, he says, gently swirling his coffee. But somehow, there were always questions inside me that no one could answer. That inner search led him through philosophy, Eastern religions, and eventually, to a Georgian convert's YouTube channel discussing Islam with calm logic and clarity. He began reading the Quran, first in English, then in a Georgian translation. And there, he says, he began to find his answers. Georgie is not alone. In recent years, a quiet but growing wave of young Georgian converts has emerged. They're not the product of mass preaching or religious campaigns. Instead, most have found Islam on their own, through spiritual quests, a fascination with Muslim culture, or friendships with Muslims abroad. Taima, a 22-year-old woman from Batumi, shares her story as she scrolls through photos of herself before and after wearing the hijab. My life before felt empty. I had friends, I was doing well in college, but my heart was never truly at peace. After attending several interfaith discussion forums and watching online lectures, she decided to convert to Islam. At first, I kept it secret. My parents were shocked. But after they saw how I became more patient, more focused, they started to accept it. In cities like Tbilisi, Batumi, and Rustavi, small Muslim communities are beginning to grow, in apartment rooms, community centers, and tucked-away cafes. These aren't just ethnic groups like the Azeris or Turks, but ethnic Georgians who have found Islam and come together to share experiences, pray, and learn. City mosques are now offering introductory Islam classes in Georgian. Books on Tawhid and the Prophet's life are being translated and distributed for free. Some organizations even offer personal mentors for new converts, guiding them from basic ablution to understanding the 5 daily prayers. Of course, the road is not always easy. Converting to Islam in a society that is deeply orthodox can bring hardship. Some lose friends. Some are rejected by family. A few have had to move to new towns just to practice their faith in peace. And yet, those who persevere often find an incredible inner strength. I know this isn't a popular choice, Georgie admits, but I've never felt stronger, or more at peace, in my life. This wave of young converts is not just a passing trend. It reflects something deeper, a search for meaning, a weariness with materialism, and a longing for inner calm. In a world that grows noisier by the day, Islam has come to them not as a political symbol or ethnic identity, but as a place to come home to. They're not just accepting Islam as a religion, but embracing it as a new foundation for life, a path to be more honest, more patient, more grounded. Islam in Georgia isn't a big story that fills media screens. It's more like an old tale whispered behind wooden windows, from small mountain prayer rooms, or from a young man quietly carrying a mushaf in his pocket. But if we lift the curtain of history and daily life, we find intriguing facts that shape the face of Islam in this small country. Here are snippets of stories you might not find in travel brochures or headlines. Though Georgia is closely associated with Orthodox Christianity, about 10 to 13% of its population are Muslim, making Islam the country's second largest religion. The Muslim community is ethnically diverse, native Georgian Muslims, especially from Adjara, Azeris, Chechens, Kists, Abkhaz, as well as immigrants from Turkey and Central Asia. Interestingly, many Georgian Muslims are not converts but inheritors of a faith passed down for centuries. One of the most unique mosques in the world stands in Old Tbilisi, the Jummah Mosque, Friday Mosque. Here, Sunni and Shia worshippers pray side by side. No partitions, no conflict. The Imam rotates according to the schedule. This simple building symbolizes a rare tolerance and harmony found nowhere else. Tourists visiting often don't expect that behind these old stone walls, two major Islamic sects coexist peacefully without blaming each other. Many assume Muslims in Georgia come only from ethnic minorities. Yet in Adjara, an autonomous region in the southwest bordering Turkey, many Muslims are ethnic Georgians. They speak Georgian, wear traditional Georgian clothing, but practice Islam devoutly. In villages like Kulo and Shwakavi, Islam is not just a religion but part of the local identity inherited since Ottoman times. The Soviet era was the darkest time for all religions in Georgia, including Islam. Mosques were closed, Qur'ans burned, and religious practices banned. Yet Muslims in the villages endured. They hid mushafs in caves, prayed at night, and taught children to recite the Quran in secret. Many elders from that era couldn't read the Quran fluently but memorized short surahs passed down orally, like poetry kept in the heart rather than on paper. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha celebrations in Muslim villages feel very local yet deeply Islamic. Special dishes like chadi, cornbread, lobio, red beans, and sacrificial meat are shared in large family gatherings. Though simple, the spirit of sharing is strong. Uniquely, some villages sing Islamic praises in traditional Georgian folk music style, accompanied by instruments like the panduri. Islam here does not erase local culture, it embraces it. Friday sermons and religious studies in many city mosques are now often delivered in Georgian, not Arabic or Turkish. This is crucial to reach young native Georgian Muslims and converts born into local culture. Many translations of the Quran, hadiths, and fiqh books are available in Georgian, making Islam more accessible and relatable. Muslim women in Georgia, especially in cities, are becoming more active and confident. Many wear hijab while studying, working, or running their own businesses. Despite social challenges, they prove that being a Muslima in Georgia doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. In Batumi, young Muslim women regularly hold discussions, study groups, and social activities to help orphans and the poor. They represent the new face of Georgian Islam, active, modern, and rooted in spiritual values. These facts show Islam in Georgia is not just a minority surviving quietly, but a living reality growing steadily and deeply. Islam didn't arrive from outside, it lives from within the society itself, blending with the land, language, and local traditions. Behind the quiet of small mosques and cobblestone streets in Georgian cities, there is an unseen heartbeat, a Muslim community that keeps moving, striving, and building. They are not just followers but agents of change, not merely receivers but bearers of light. Foundations like the House of Islam in Batumi and the Islamic Cultural Center in Tbilisi serve as main meeting points for Muslims from diverse backgrounds. Here, differences in ethnicity, language, and age blend into one bond, faith. Routine events such as breaking fast together during Ramadan, weekly study circles, and religious seminars are not just rituals. They are spaces for friendship, learning, and mutual encouragement. Amid a majority Orthodox Christian society, these communities become a warm, second home. The approach to Dawah in Georgia is deeply rooted in values of tolerance and dialogue. Islamic organizations prefer building bridges rather than walls. Preachers and scholars often hold open classes introducing Islam to the public, including non-Muslims interested in learning. The Dawah materials are delivered in easy-to-understand language, avoiding confrontation, and emphasizing universal values such as compassion, justice, and peace. One of the community's focuses is guiding converts, especially young people who have decided to embrace Islam. Many receive personal mentors, assistance in learning worship procedures, and psychological support to face social challenges. Some communities also provide classes in Arabic and Quran, granting access to deeper and more systematic religious education. Georgia is a country rich in diversity, and Muslim communities actively engage in interfaith dialogue. Together with Christian and Jewish groups, they organize discussions, social activities, and cultural events promoting messages of brotherhood. This is an important step to ensure Islam is not seen as the other, but as an inseparable part of Georgia's peaceful social mosaic. Many Muslim students in Georgia receive scholarships to study in countries with strong Islamic traditions such as Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. After gaining knowledge, they return with fresh insights that strengthen local communities. With support from international organizations, mosques are renovated, Islamic libraries built, and various social programs launched to assist the needy and orphans. Today's Muslim society in Georgia reflects resilience and a spirit of renewal. From mountain villages to city centers, they keep building, educating, and sharing, quietly, without coercion, with love and sincerity. This is the story of Islam living from heart to heart, spreading peace and hope in a land rich with history and culture.